Hey everyone, thanks for joining. We were just talking about Chris of Strahd, or actually Ravenloft that I ran last week. Pull up a picture of that thing. Got David here. How you doing, David?
Doing great.
We're going to take a look at this Forgotten Realms book, but we were just talking about the Undead in 2024 D&D got a lot better. So I ran Strahd Must Die, which I do. The format I do is 2 sessions, 3 hours real time each. And so it's basically from 6 p.m. in the game world to midnight in the game world. The party gets to the castle immediately. They have their reading immediately, so they know where some of their resources that might help them are, at least with regard to the reading, and where an ally might be. And it's just enough time. I like it rather than trying to do it all in 4 hours. It's just enough time to give them a little bit more exploration of the castle before confronting Strahd. And I ran Strahd as just a straight vampire, 2024 vampire. They really beefed them up. Let's take a look at what 2024 vampire here real quick. They beefed them up really well. You go to the monster manual. And I found, and I didn't know this going in, they did changes that made all undead better at draining your max hit points. So vampires. And I ran Strahd as a straight regular vampire. He had his spells, but I never used any of them. 195 hit points. You'll see that in a lot of, they took away regeneration for most creatures, which I don't miss. And they kind of raised the hit points of those creatures that lost regeneration as if they regenerated a couple rounds. Because half the time I'd forget it. So just build it in for me. Then that's one less thing I have to remember. So yeah, 195 hit points now for a vampire. Legendary resistance 3 or 4 times in their lair. All the regular weaknesses. Now their sunlight gives them 20 radiant damage when they start in sunlight and disadvantage on attack rolls. But they can, as a bonus action charm, which is a DC 17, really powerful charm. And they can, as their legendaries, use a command to cause someone to grovel. That's DC 17 again. And then they get to do grave strikes. And so they're doing 4 times in a round. Like 3 grave strikes, which is their unarmed strike, which vampires used to have to either do damage or forgo the damage to grab someone. Now they do both. They do damage and they grab you automatically, which then sets up their bite. Yeah, David?
Yeah, it used to be that they didn't feel like much of a threat unless they stacked a grab and then an attack with the bite.
Yeah. And now the bite is just a straight saving throw, DC 17. And if you fail that, you're taking piercing and necrotic damage. And your hit point max is reduced by the necrotic damage you take, and the vampire heals. So that's kind of how they can regenerate now, right? They're going to be healing through biting. So he did really good. I mean, don't want to give away the ending, but let's just say it was a really even fight. You can go watch the videos on the d20play YouTube and see how that went if you're interested, or don't watch them and play it next year when I run it again next year. I might run it again even this year. It's so much fun. So yeah, the vampires got better that way. And if we look at CVW, wraiths and whites also got stronger. So if you look at a white, it's making a life drain. It's just a straight save, and you're going to take necrotic damage, which is your max hit points. So doing that every round. Or a wraith, they hit to do a life drain, and they're doing a lot of life drain, 21 off your max hit points. And of course, I don't just stop there. I multiply it by 1.3. So it's really like 27. It is bad.
I'm thinking back on that time we faced the Draco Lich in one of your games, and that aura that it had that prevented healing within the aura.
Right, yeah.
That was so punishing. It made the Draco Lich absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. They're in the...
And fun.
They should be right in the main rules here in order. Draco Lich. So there's a lot of improvements, and really they made everything a lot more punishing, like you said. So I don't really necessarily need to multiply everything by my standard 1.6 times for this thing. to make it challenging, and except for really experienced groups. Still, I might do it like half of that, like 1.3 instead of 1.6. But what was their aura? Life suppression. Creatures in 60 can't regain hit points. Yeah, that's hugely punishing. All right, who we got in the chat? Got any people here? Chime in where you're from. What's your favorite adventure in the Forgotten Realms book? That's what we're going to take a look at. There'll be spoilers here, of course, so watch, maybe listen if you don't want a spoiler. Don't watch for a little bit.
Before we jump to the adventures, let's talk about running the Forgotten Realms, because that has some advice that you may want to take to heart or dismiss, Tom.
Where's that at? In the player's book or the
in the DM's book,
DM book,
adventure
okay.
book? Yeah,
got it.
Running the Realms. There's a section in there called Character Death.
All right.
And it advises you to really steer clear of situations that might cause the characters to die. Death in epic stories is rare, it says.
Character death, here it is.
Yeah. Resist the temptation to make every encounter high difficulty.
Oh.
Epic adventures have high stakes, but it's important to vary the difficulty. I'm with that. But it really wants you to steer away from taking a risk at killing the characters, except maybe in that final encounter with consent of a willing heroic sacrificer. And that's a play style. It's perfectly valid. It's probably not for me, or definitely not for you, Tom, but
no.
I think that suggests the direction that some of the recent Wizards of the Coast adventures have been complete cupcakes as far as challenge goes, and kind of leaned more towards making challenges that give players a chance to show off and flaunt their abilities, and not so much take any real risks.
Yeah. But epic stories often also include a character that dies halfway through the story in a heroic last stand, thinking Sturm, right? Sturm Brightblade, that inspires the other characters for the rest of the campaign. Some even players will even agree to do this ahead of time. Oh my god. Are you playing a game? You want to randomly see what happens, or you want to like script it all out ahead of time? That's so bad. This is so bad. Now, if you don't want to die all the time, you definitely have that discussions, because there's some games are set up where it's going to be death. You know, you got gauntlets, you got Strahd must die tonight, where the balance is like as close to 50-50 chance of you living as I can make it. And so that's not conducive to a long campaign with some character continuity.
Absolutely.
Maybe you want to, steer that difficulty more toward one death every other, every third, every fourth session as appropriate. I remember what I used to do. We used to play Adventurers League a lot, right? And any published game, I think, really can kind of be a cupcake to start out, because they kind of have to make it that way. Players have all different levels of skill. Groups have all different levels of compatibility with each other and synergy with each other. And they kind of have to write it for the lowest end, with the expectation that the judge, the DM, will increase it as appropriate for his table. I think that's fair. That's completely understandable. And what I would do is I would start with the as written, and then every session that no player got below 0 or got down to 0 hit points, I'd increase the difficulty until the session started getting some players below, dropping to 0, and then I'd ratchet it back down a little bit if a character died. So the players were kind of through their skill, but that does, like you're saying, make it an endurance. Where does it say? Unrelenting endurance test. Yeah, it can get too much, but you're right. Some of the high-level campaigns, like Eva Ruin, Vecna Eva Ruin, those adventures, it's like, this is like challenge rating 3 and 4 creatures for a 10th level, 12th level party. Why are you even having this encounter? It's like there's no chance anyone's even close to being hurt. Um, so yeah, I
Yeah.
encourage you ratchet up if you want, but yeah, definitely make sure you find a balance that's appropriate for your table. Because as a DM, you can just kill everyone every session, right?
Yeah.
That's no
Coup
fun.
Couple other things in here I'd like to call out. I like the advice under low level challenges on how to kind of set up your campaign for connecting it to a higher story and previewing the villain. There's some good advice there.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's also a bit of can't remember where it's at, but there's a couple of sections where the book sort of addresses the usual um, concerns that people voice about running campaigns in the Forgotten Realms, namely that first of all, if you're supposed to be the DM, there's probably going to be a Forgotten Realms fan at your table who's read all the books and is going to be tempted to say, well, actually, and the good advice is to either, lean into it and rely on them to help provide uh, extra color and flavor and background as needed in the game, or just make it clear that this is your Forgotten Realms, because it is. When you're running a
Hmm.
game in any campaign setting, it becomes your setting to change and adapt to your taste. Um, so good advice there. And then the second thing that's often a concern with folks running Forgotten Realms is that there are so many named powerful heroes in the settings, like Elminster and so on. Why isn't Drist coming to save the day? Why does my poor party of third level characters have to get in there and get their take those risks? Well, um, there's a little bit of advice here for how to deal with that. Basically saying that, these other people are busy. They've got other stuff going on. You take the center stage. It's your story.
Yeah. So you got that general advice in the front of the book, Running the Realms. You have a good list of little one-off, one-page adventures. And then in each of the different regions, like the Dale Lands and the Icewind Dale, there's some adventures specific to them. Then you have chapter 7 here, this lost library of Lachantos. Not sure if I'm saying that right. Let's look at that real quick.
This is the bigger adventure that's more fleshed out, like we're accustomed to, right?
Right. So level 1 characters. And they give you a summary. They tell you can choose where you want to put it. It is as described, located in the Dale Lands, but you can customize it for other areas. To run the adventure, some information, some adventure background. You know what they're not doing here? They're not doing like they did, interestingly, in the Dragon books, right? Where they have kind of a high level summary of the NPCs and a high level summary of the adversaries that you might run into. I kind of like that, but they don't repeat it here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that was a good
Yeah.
innovation.
So you got a bunch of background information, starting the adventure, ready to start the adventure, paraphrase the following, um, traveling to the library, and then the adventure setting. I like that it's a setting that you can explore in multiple different ways. And there's a door in. There's other pathways. There's stairs going down to a lower level. Secret passage here, so multiple loops in the dungeon there. That's good. This might have multiple loops here from 1 to 3. That's good. Um, if we look at the adversaries, Goblin Warriors, it's interesting that they like we did all. I was finding this when I was doing Keep or Heroes on the Borderlands. Every creature is just a little different, which is a pain in the butt for a DM that had a lot of experience with 5th edition. But as it is, that's what it is. Uh, in theory, they tried to make them a little bit faster to run with little tweaks here and there, where they don't ever have you do an attack and a save. It's either an attack or a save in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So you got a portcullis here that blocks your path, so you could go the other way around, or you can get some interesting way to get past that portcullis, so that's good. Give you multiple ways into the dungeon. I hate common magic items. I mean, I don't hate them, but give me cool magic items.
The
See,
ones that are just pure cloak of billowing style
that's horrendous. Yeah,
flavor.
your spellbook that can't be damaged. You know, by the end of this adventure, characters should be third level probably. They should have several good uncommon magic items in here. Some potions of healing, some spell scrolls. Do they have any a +1 weapon? Sentient, so that's kind of cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. But alignment, neutral good, okay. And that's it. So way under on the magic items, in my opinion. And I think, oh my god, when we were playing Eve of Ruin, and your characters are like 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th level, and finding like nothing in the adventures. Wizards are really bad at doing this. They just don't populate the adventures with lots of cool magic items. They don't populate them with challenging enough opponents. I'm really getting disillusioned with them. And I haven't really read through this one all the way through, so got a mimic in there.
Not another mimic.
Mimic. There's like 4 or 5 different ways you can run into a mimic in Heroes on the Borderlands. They really like their mimics.
They're sort of iconic, I guess, and
Yeah.
workable at a lower level, but
Yeah. So would I run this adventure? I'm not chomping at the bit to run it. I'll tell you that much. And then if you have this adventure, and let's look at how the book's kind of laid out here. Say you're doing Kalam Shan, which is cool, a really cool setting, I think, with lots of genies and that kind of stuff. Flying airships and blue dragons and things. You come down to DM's Toolbox. Got Renown. Got Bastions here. A potential Bastion and the Oasis there. That's pretty neat. Bastion events specific to the area. Encounters in Kalam Shan. Kalam Desert Encounters. I like that they have a little bit more to them. You know, it's not just 3 bandits and a Guardian Naga. The party spots a temple to a deity. Long of bandits is protected by a Guardian Naga. Oasis surrounded by detailed descriptions that masked a tent. Who's a Medusa? Mobile as the character hunt for prey.
it's curious that they're not level banded for the Desert Encounters.
Yeah, you're rolling a d20 and you could get a Medusa at first level. That is really interesting. Kalimport Adventures, an adult gold dragon. Okay, then you have some adventure ideas. And do they have call them stories? They kind of have like an outline. Here we go. Exploring the environment outline for levels 1 through 10. Genie faction arc, levels 1 through 15. So a couple different arcs. And so if you're doing an arc, levels 1 through 4, before traveling to remote genie palaces, the characters might come to the Sultan's attention by doing good deeds in Kalimport. You can choose gods long forgotten in this chapter. So if I open that, this comes from the Kalam Shan area. Here's a level 4 adventure. Let's look at this one, for example, just to see what it's like. Pacify a quartet of troublesome deities. Temple of 1,000 includes the Forgotten Wing, a space devoted to deities who are no longer worshipped. Characters are visiting the temple when screams of panic and fleeing patrons signal a crisis. The high priest of the temple slams the doors to the Forgotten Ring and breathlessly asks the characters to investigate. So you got these different gods, 1, 2, 3, 4 different gods. And that's it. And what are we using for a map here?
What sort of things do you do with these small gods?
I don't know. Use the Temple of 1,000 map earlier in the chapter. Okay. For this adventure, 4 wayward deities are causing the disturbance of the Forgotten Wing, each represented in the temple by a statue, manifested in the statues, transformed into monsters. Most can be talked down through social interaction or test the skill. The deities are as follows. Let's look at one of them. Hunting god revered by extinct tribe of steppe nomads. Large stone statue of a horned humanoid using helmed horse. Large statue of a horned humanoid reminds me of Conan, the second Conan movie, right? Uses helmed horse, stat block, indifferent to the party, but is angrily grieving his long dead people. Admires warriors and those with hunting skill. All right, so you have some random descriptions with some small motivations. If 3 of the 5 deities are propitiated or destroyed, the surviving deities return to their enshrined locations and vanish. High Priest thanks the characters, gives them a decanter of endless water and 100 gold pieces. So there's your 4th level adventure. Not real inspiring. Gods long forgotten. Using the Temple of 1,000 map earlier in the chapter. See if we can find the Temple of 1,000.
Not sure the map even matters.
No, it doesn't. Really doesn't. So, let's see. We were going through the conflicts. Okay. So you're doing the genie conflict, and you dot the gods long forgotten. Once they've come to now, in theory, you might have run that first level 1 through 3 adventure before you get to the gods long forgotten. Then Songal recruits them in endless intrigues against the genies. The characters travel to various different places as secret agents of Sultana. You can use the Calamemnon conspiracy in this chapter to bring the 4 factions together and introduce the Calamemnon crystal. Nice artifact. So the Calamemnon conspiracy, right here. Adventure for level 8 characters. So you got to fill in a whole bunch between those 2.
There's a lot of this part is left as an exercise for the reader kind of stuff.
Yeah. Do this on your own time at home and bring it back.
But, for inspiration and giving you a feel for what sort of campaign might take place in Calamsham.
So if you're looking to do your own thing, there's some skeletal outlines of things to do. They have the appearance of being adventures, but they're not really. They're ideas. Pretty thin ideas in some cases that, I might just go and look on maps of Dyson Logos, maps that Heroic Maps has colorized from Dyson Logos, and throw in my own adventures there. And I have some awesome maps, and I can come up with this kind of stuff the same. I can grab the monsters that are thematic to the region and kind of set up my own adventures that way. So let's look at some of the example adventures here. Let's just do Fury Grove. Level 3, Fury Grove. Make sure there's a map here. Okay, we got a map.
We got a grove.
We got a grove. Sacred Grove, Outer Circle, Inner Circle, Fungal Hollow. And the maps are pretty. By Mike Schley, who does great work. So that's nice. It's a pretty map. Cleanse a Corrupted Forest Shrine. Oh, hey, Cade. Didn't even see you there. Thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out. That's one issue with Vecna Eve of Ruin. If it's so important, why are the Wizards 3 sitting back and you are doing all the adventuring to save the multiverse? That is a big one, yeah. When you're talking about 20th level adventure, it gets a little weird. Once or twice a campaign, you always mimic loses the mystique. Yeah. Concepts of a plan. Okay, back to Fury Grove. So you have a situation. In the Laughing Hollow, a Fey-touched valley in the savage frontier just east of Daggerford, a demonic fungus has invaded the sacred grove. A wood elf is going to ask you for help. Probably. The village's halfling Lord Mayor turns to the party to make sure all is well. 3 encounters, or consists of these encounters. Hollow Path. The path from the city to the Laughing Hollow is 24 miles. For every 4 hours, roll on the table below. Rerolling duplicates. But there's only 3 entries, and 4 goes into 24 more than 3 times. Fungal growths cover blighted creatures, driving them to fury. So you got some blighted giant boars, some blighted dire wolves, some unblighted displacer beast. So some random encounters on the way there. Wood elves. As you enter the hollow, 3 blighted wood elves ambush you. Okay. Then you get to the sacred grove. So you have the outer circle. Use the map below. Outer circle, you got some various monsters to fight. Inner circle, some more various monsters to fight. And then fungal hollow. And these are like right adjacent to each other. So, I mean, it's... Do the monsters appear after the monsters die? I imagine, probably. Conclusion. With the Sovereign's defeat, the blight ends, the group of Wood Elves arrives, and thanks to characters helping them recover their ordeal. Each renown score increases by 1, and there is no magic items.
And no decisions to make.
No decisions to make. So, thin. This one's pretty bad. This was the free one they put out. You're going to go in here and fight a bunch of undead, but there might be a little twist. There's an illusionary wall. There's a succubus. So there's 1 magic item in there. So, 50 adventures that you can just drop in, but do you want to drop any of them in? I don't know. Or do you want to go find a cool dungeon like, right, Mithranor, a big epic adventure there? And do you wish it was described and populated and had a big adventure site that you could really explore and lots of things going on there and enemies relative to each other that you can pit against each other? So, what do you think, David?
Well, I don't think this is the strongest part of the book, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
I don't think the adventures are the strongest part of it. There's some cool maps, certainly, but they're pretty small. It's the one evening of gaming. So let's look at some of the other parts of the book. In the DM book, I really do like the maps. They're amazing maps. What's something you want to look at specifically, David?
Well, I spent some time in the Dale Lands because
Uh-huh.
that's the site of a campaign I read recently. And there was a lot of stuff in here that kind of excited me. When I ran that Dale Lands campaign, I spent a lot of time researching old sources for 2nd edition, even maybe 1st edition,
Mm-hmm.
and 3rd edition for various sites in the Dale Lands, looking for inspiration and history and things that I could tie in, because that amuses me when I can bring in a bunch of lore from different sources and kind of weave that into whatever story I'm trying to tell.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at this Dale Lands, it was kind of exciting because it took some new slants that I had not gotten from my earlier visits to the Dale Lands, namely this idea of this giant Cormanthor forest that's sort of primal and they laid out with the history of the elves that used to dominate it. And then the mega dungeon, not exactly a mega dungeon, but a mega dungeon like site with Myth Draenor in the center of it. There's a lot of cool things that you could do with Myth Draenor as a mega dungeon because, first of all, it's got a lot of little zones in it that are all different feel and different history and different sort of things that you encounter. So as a mega dungeon analog, it gives you a variety of different experiences that would prevent it from being sort of monotonous, which is a thing that can happen with mega dungeons in the abstract. Also, with the home bases and the Dale lands surrounding it, you could have a cool campaign where you visit the Myth Draenor for various missions and then come back out and have a variety of different adventures mixed in or larger subplots mixed in to that one sort of central location of Myth Draenor is where a lot of the adventure comes. So reading this, even after having spent a lot of time in the Dale Lands in that campaign recently, I was thinking, wow, I want to go back. I want to run another campaign in this because there's a lot of cool ideas that I didn't engage with at all. And it's a new angle.
One thing I like to do when I'm running an adventure, getting ready to run an adventure, let's see if it works in here, is go through the adventure and look for any kind of knowledge checks, like any kind of intelligence checks. So let me do that with the Lost Library here. So I'll go into the adventure I'm getting ready to run, and I'll just do a find for intel. There we go. So a character who takes steady action sees on an intelligence check determines the cave leads to a bear's den. This cave entrance. Okay, so that's not anything too cool. Summoning circle, intelligence check, just how to use it. Okay. And that's it. So this dungeon has nothing that a character that has any skill in Arcana. I mean, there's a summoning circle, so you can know how to use that, but like no lore to unearth. And I like looking for that. I like lore that I can feed the players ahead of time
Mm-hmm.
that they can reveal in character when they come across it. So this didn't have that. Let's look at an adventure that does. I'm sure if I go to I think Dragon Delves had it, and this will be a good look at how the Dragon Delves adventures look too. So if we go to Baker's Doesn't, make sure I'm sharing this. And this adventure, by the way, this one put me off when I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's not for me. That's not an adventure I want to run. But it turns out to be a great little horror fairy tale adventure.
We had a good time with that one. That
Yeah,
was a fun adventure.
yeah. I'm glad I forced myself to run it because I think you'll like it if you play it. It's really cool. But anyway, they have the key plot points laid out. They have preparation, what to do to prepare, and then they also have the capability to run some of these for only one character, and then key NPCs, and then some adventure background. I really like that layout for adventures. Let's see if this one has anything that intelligence check would find. Only one. Asking around town and subsequent say action reveals that the roll, so you can find out where the roll was made. So these aren't good examples for that, but there's some that have a lot of stuff in them that is behind intelligence checks that I go through and I search the adventure first. And then I try to, when players are setting up their characters to play the adventure, hand them that information. And sometimes multiple characters get the same information. If multiple characters are all good at history, they might kind of all know the same thing or variations of the same thing. And therefore, in game, it can make it really much more in character than I'm going to make an intelligence check. You know, it doesn't kind of come out of the verisimilitude of the setting. The players can play their character and stay in character doing that. Just a little aside on how I do those. Okay, back to let's see if we can find anything in the longer adventures because they're all one chapter, so I can grab them all at once and search them all at once here. So bad sign that there's only 7 of them out of 50 adventures. Clue to the lab. Harper's Clue. So you could definitely ahead of time describe what Harper's Clues look like to characters that have intelligence history that they might find in this adventure. Recall that Malar spends, so you can describe some information about the deities that characters might run into when they're playing this adventure if they have religion skill. And I
We're
like to
still
do
looking
this.
at Baker's dozen, if that's
Oh, sorry.
doesn't.
So here's this adventure. There's an intelligence check to recall some lore about Malar. So you can feed that to the characters ahead of time who have religion skill. And I like doing this because these knowledge type skills are kind of underutilized, underserved. And especially when you do it in a way that it's, oh, everyone roll the check. Then you have your barbarian with no training at all outshining the wizard who just have to roll low. So I do like to feed this stuff ahead of time.
It's a good technique.
Yeah,
I like
not
that.
a lot of it in these adventures though. Okay, back to the adventures. So we're looking through the adventures. You were telling us you found a lot of good stuff in Dagger Dale Lands, and a lot of people liked Kalimshan. It looks really neat. Moonshay, there's a whole Adventure League campaign done for Moonshay, and I think they probably did a really good job. I played some of the earlier adventures, and it was really cool, really thematic. And Mike Schley did an amazing map for the Moonshay, which I'm sure you can find on his website still. And it's even more detailed than the one in this book. So I'd highly recommend going and checking that stuff out if you're doing Moonshays and then supplementing it what you find in this book here, I'd say. And then Baldur's Gate. I've never played the Devil Adventure. What was that?
Descent into Avernus.
Yeah, I never played that. And if I ever did, I'd probably mine this as much as I could. There was also another book done by, what's their name? There's a book on Baldur's Gate, and it's really well done. I should pull it up while we're on the stream. And then you have your adventures, and you have your magic items. Not a lot of magic items, and then monsters. And so the monsters in this book, of course, some themed to the Forgotten Realms, but some you can use other places. Got some Drow Veloth you could use in lots of different campaigns. Where Wyvern, Spirit Dragon, you can use wherever you like. And there's a Deep Dragon too, I think, in here, right? Deep Dragon, yeah. Take a look at this guy. They have Nightmare Breath, psychic damage, and frightened till the end of the dragon's next turn. Ancient Deep Dragon. This is a CR 18 creature doing 44 damage. That's trivial at CR 18. It is amazing they did not increase Dragon Breath weapons much. They seem like they're scary, but then you get hit by one and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I definitely recommend beefing those up. Here's the Drow of Loth, which is the standard Drow, but revised with the 5th edition stuff. Now, this one does have an attack roll and a saving throw, which they've kind of got away from, but this one's got it. Attack roll and a saving throw for the elite warriors. The mage, they used to be pretty potent, although their summon fiend power worked 50% of the time, so half the time they were very potent. The other half the time they weren't. I always found that kind of dumb. But they're only pulling up a fiendish spirit, which is probably nowhere near as good as an actual demon. It's probably a 4th level. Summon fiend, uses a fiendish spirit. Stat block. Let's look at that. Open the tab. Fiendish spirit. Yeah, only 50 hit points. Not that great. Plus 15 for spell level above 6.
Does the Priestess of Loth, does she summon a Handmaiden of Loth demon?
Oh,
I'm not daring to pronounce the
Yokel?
name of it, but
No, doesn't look like it. Thaumaturgy, Guidance, Dancing Lights at Will. Spider Vortex doing 33 damage. So a CR8 doing almost as much damage in an area as the dragon did.
no insect plague, no
No, Lost Blessing, no Insect Plague there. Just the Spider Vortex. 20-foot emanation, affecting enemies. So it's friendly, area friendly for your allies.
Simple to
Which,
run, I
yeah,
suppose.
yeah. They do that a lot, or they do it pretty much universally in Draw Steel. They have so many minions running around in that game. If they didn't do that, it'd be nightmarish to try and do an area effect spell and not get half your allies.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm running that this weekend. Looking forward to that. Getting near the end of the Delian Tomb. Uncle
I'm
Nibblecheek, yeah, he was great.
I'm shocked at how much material is in that Delian Tomb. Wow, you've been going for a while on it.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a value for your money. It's even got the rules you need to play the system in it. So if you wanted to try out Draw Steel and have an adventure you could run for like a quarter of a year or half a year almost, uh, $9, $9.99, and you can grab that. If you're at all curious, I'd grab that. And I think their road to Broadhurst, which is like the road to get to where that adventure starts, is free. So you can grab that. And between those two, really try out the system. And it's a great sandbox too. Yeah, just a perfectly done sandbox because you get there to that village and you're just kind of open to wherever you want to go from there.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Uh, you were saying the Matron Mother. Let's look at now. The Matron Mother was a late 2025, so she might already kind of be updated. Drow Matron. Drow Matron Mother. She was in Mordecaians. So let me pull that up and share that tab. There she is, CR 20. That's really good.
Yeah,
She
she's
can
got
gate,
banishment,
summon
blade
a
barrier,
Yocklaw.
summon
So
Yocklaw. Yeah,
yeah. I had you guys fight one of these in God, it was like the third adventure in Eve of Ruin when you saved Illustrial from Loth herself. This Drow Matron Mother was summoning Loth when you guys arrived, and you got her out of there just in time. I beef those adventures up a lot. It was a lot of fun.
you don't say.
Yeah, so. This one, um, the newer type of spellcasting for sure. Legendary actions are the old type of legendaries where some cost more than one, and they don't have forward or lair. But I think overall she was beefed up quite a bit in damage output. 2 demon staff attacks, 3 tentacle rod attacks, and they're doing 7 plus 14 psychic each attack. So she's pretty beefed up, and she was really late. And anything in Mordecaians was kind of almost the same math, I think. All right, back to the Forgotten Realms book. Got Manchun here. How liable is this version of him? CR 13, so not that high. Got Nimble Rights, Faerun, Queen Fallen. Oh, this is their Moonshae's arc. I love the art for this Sam Master. That's awesome art there. Lich, founder of a dragon cult.
Yeah, there's fantastic art throughout
Yeah,
this book. Very
this
impressed.
artist, Olivier, is that how you say that? Really good artist. Really great work on a lot of stuff. They have another one who did the artwork in the Player's Handbook that features Carlman and Raceland. I don't know if it's the same guy, but that was really good art too.
Yeah, I think it's a little different direction from the 2024 books art direction that
Yeah,
seemed like it tended to be a little candy colored,
yeah.
um, and a little
Olivier here for this one as
mild.
well. Um, so that's more like the 2024 Player's Handbook, kind of candy colored stuff. And then this is more dark, I think, here with the Werewyvern. Zentalar. Is this like, what were they called? What did the Warriors of the Zentarum, what were they named in the old editions? I forget. Paladin of Bane, CR4, not too bad. Zlan, this thing looks grotesque. It's like 7 liches combined together, I think. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different liches. 199 hit points all combined, I think. Or is that each? Probably all combined. That's pretty cool. Really curious with what they added to the Moonshae Isles. Let's take a look. Chapter 5, Moonshae. There's a whole source book AL did for the Moonshaes too, which is pretty cool. This is dumb looking. The the wind server. Come on. Looks like they tried to fairy tale it up a little bit with that artwork.
For sure.
Yeah. Fairy tale it up a little bit here. Well, they even talk about fairy tales. Eco fantasy. Okay. Insidious curse calls the rusting plagues the Moonshaes, born from the rapacious invaders and the vampire's dying words. The rusting transforms verdant wilderness into metallic scrap, people into constructs, and moon wells into pits of stinking oil. All right. I might go look at the Adventure League version. I think it was more akin to Celtic, fantasy. People of the Moonshaes, folk and Norlanders, Fae and Loir, and Giants. The Giants are fun in the Fae, in Moonshaes for sure. Magic of the Moonshaes. The rusting is the big, dangerous, evil thing happening. The Gossateer. Where's the map? Is it right at the front? Let's find the map because Schley does an amazing job on all these maps. Longship.
There we go.
So nice map, but he's got even a higher detailed version of that. Go check out his website if you want to run something in the Moonshaes, because it'll have this even more zoomed in. There's a player version, which probably has all those symbols off of it. Yeah. Did you read the books for the Moonshaes when they came out, David?
I have not.
Douglas Niles wrote them. They were really cool.
No, okay.
I mean, when I was 12, they were really I don't know how they'd be now. But I can't recall if they were before or after Dragonlance. I think after Dragonlance.
It seems like they would be after, because Dragonlance was kind of, memory serves, just about the first D&D fiction to hit the market, and then the success of that sort of drove all the other stuff to come out.
All right, let's look at the adventure here. Wreck of the Silverhand, level 6, location adventure. Cover a famous treasure from a sunken ship. You have to go to the Dungeon Master's Guide for the map. This is bad that they kind of did that. It's like, okay. Now, granted, if you're buying the adventure book for Forgotten Realms, you probably have the Dungeon Master's Guide already. So maybe it's not that big a deal.
It sets an example that, you're free to draw from other resources to.
Where are the maps in here? And if you're interested in these maps, I know Heroic Maps did a lot of them. That's a great map of Greyhawk. All right, Barrow Crypt. Where's the ship? There's the ship. Pretty straightforward, simple ship. And I think Heroic Maps has a version of this ship they've done recently. So you can grab it in color if you like, or black and white if you want, from the Dungeon Master's Guide. You got a giant shark attacking you. Main deck, you got some ghouls. Fore deck, you got a merfolk, which you might be able to turn to be your friend. Cargo hold.
Here's what I'd like to see for that encounter with the Wavebender is what do you want? What does this creature want? What approaches might work in making it friendly? Which ones would make it unfriendly? How do you play it so it's an interesting character that comes to life at the table and not just a DC 15 charisma check?
Right. Yeah. Very good point, Saul.
But it's 500 words, so
Yeah, it is short. Cargo hold creates a chemical substance. Every crate sealed. Don't damage it or else it'll blow up. Aft has got some whites in it. And return of the golem. When the characters open the safe and attempt to leave with its contents, the stone golem returns in the aft. Oh wait, the wreck. Use the ship map. Ship sank when the stone golem in the cargo hold broke through the port side. So it will come back when the characters open the safe and attempt to leave with the contents of the safe.
so is it going to attack? What's going to happen? I guess that's up
That's a
to
good
you.
question. It just says it returns.
It's
Just
back.
returns. Maybe nothing happens. So yeah, all the adventures are like, here's a map and here's the monsters. And you can kind of do that yourself mostly. So not real impressed with all of the maybe I mean, you can do a lot in one page. Where's my one page adventure? Find it. What did I call that thing? There we go.
Why are these crates taking fire or radiant damage? It doesn't look like you're even fighting anything down there. Seems like a big nothing.
Where did I put it? Shoot. Huh. Well, I'll find it here. There it is. All right. So one page adventure, just 8 rooms. Oh, this is not going bigger the way I thought it would. Coming across not really well. Anyway, one page adventure, 8 rooms, got rumors, got random encounters, got area descriptions, multiple paths, teleporters, dark deities, all sorts of weird creatures, flaming skeletons, a devil you can make a pact with. So you could get a lot of stuff. You could cram a lot of stuff into one page. But that's not what they've done.
You sank a lot of effort into that. That's not a low effort
No, it took a little time.
creation
Yeah.
that you did.
It was over my Christmas break. It didn't take more than that, though.
Oh yeah,
But it wasn't like 4 hours at a typewriter. That's for sure.
right.
Which a lot of these adventures kind of look like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That adventure, where can you find that? I think you can find it on Drive-Thru RPG. Just look for Tomb on the Borderlands if you want to play that. And I set it up to run with the d20play RPG, but you can run it with any system. You got kobolds, you got spiders, you got twig blights, you got skeletons, all the standard cool stuff that any system covers. I really like the Sword of Night. And the rumor that pointed to it was it the Sword of Night darkens the tomb. Lots of stuff in there. Back to this. And back to our chat. I'm really curious about what they added to the Moonshays. Hey, thanks. I think you killed me on that adventure. You can say that about most adventures, Gabe. I don't remember anyone dying in that one. Was it
Feel
what
like
killed
I
you?
played that and didn't die, but
You played it.
Cade
You
would
played it for
remember.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here to look at? So there's the Moonshays. Wreck of the Silverhand, Meshes in the Bottle, another adventure there. Rushdown Well, another adventure there. DM's Toolbox, Moonshay Conflict. So this is where you get your kind of ideas for a campaign. As we saw, you got maybe 1 or 2 adventures, and you fill in the rest. The Rusting, DM's Toolbox. Okay, so I'm not terribly impressed with the adventures. I do like, though, just all the lore that's in here. Just seems really chock full of lore that you can pull out and use in any campaign you want to run. Like you said, David, you're interested in all this stuff in the Dale Lands. And I think it probably goes the same for other areas. Icewind Dale, so that was a whole campaign. Be interesting to run that again and pull out as much lore out of here as you can. That was a fun campaign. I had a good time running that one, and a good time with the Adventure League parallel to it. I miss the Adventure League parallels.
Yeah, that was a good feature of some of the earlier adventures.
Great map here. They even have a nod to the original adventure. Let's see, Retaking the Terror. Yeah, this is it. So the Shardlin dragon that you fight in the original adventure, it's here, crashed into this ruined inn. So some nice nods back to that.
Oh, look at that. That is,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
An interesting nod.
Retaking the Terror, Dugan's Hell. Confront a murderous clan. What wakes below? Level 9. Escape a deep dragon through the Underdark. Okay, let's see how this one is. Maybe it will redeem itself. A seer who's secretly an adult deep dragon, found a beholder frozen below Tourmaline and intends to use the creature to cement power in Bryn Shander. Characters are in Tourmaline when the beholder emerges from the mines and begins laying waste to everything and everyone nearby. You think a level 9 party would fear a beholder?
No, I think they'd make short work of that beholder.
Let's see how the new beholder looks. Beholder, 190 hit points, not too bad. Armor class 18, not too bad. Challenge rating 13, so not great facing a whole party of characters. They have legendary resistance now, which I don't think they had before. So they would go down easy before to just a few spells. That helps them. Not doing a lot of damage with that bite. The eye rays have the problem of being kind of not dishing out a lot of damage, but they did add damage to some things like the charm ray does damage now. I don't think it did before.
Right. That's one of the big improvements that
Yeah.
it's in the new beholder. It does feel like a threat even when it's doing the rays that don't actually
The
inflict
things that
any
don't do
damage.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. The death ray is always scary. 55 necrotic damage. And if you go down to 0, you're gone. But at 9th level, your big guys, your wizards might be close to 55. Your big guys will be closer to 100. Fighter types.
Unless you set up the beholder with a real home field advantage, it's not going to be much of a threat at that level.
The central eye was always hard to use, but now I think they made it better. So bonus action and a magic cone. Central eye emits an magic wave in a 150-foot cone till the start of the boulder's next turn. That area acts as anti-magic field. And that area works against boulder's own eye rays. That was always weird how that. So he can't do it on. If the party all stays together and is getting hit by his eye rays, he won't use this on them because it'll negate all his eye rays. He can do eye rays 4 times in his lair, so that's strong. And it's only shooting 1 though. He can use it 3 times with a multi attack, 4 more times around for 7 eye rays per round. If they were all the charm, that'd be 70, 90, 91 damage on average. per round with Charm Raise and Charming on DC 16. So that's pretty strong. But I think he's still not much of a challenge for 9th level characters. So then, Terran Tourmaline. Disoriented, half-frozen beholder assaults Tourmaline. Consists of these encounters. After the attack, Echo Morin's supporters demand a voice to elect her speaker, saying she foresaw the disaster. Echo Morin identifies the party as a threat to her plans and resolves to bring them to her family. Reverting to her dragon shape, she chases them into a tunnel leading to the end. I kind of like this adventure so far. A little bit more
There's stuff
motivation.
going on.
Yeah, motivation for the enemies. That's good. Giant ruins.
I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, I haven't. Have they ever played D&D? I haven't seen a lot of parties getting chased. Or running.
Yeah, they see a dragon, they're going to run.
That's not any D&D game that I'm familiar with. But
yeah, true. Chases or guides the characters through ruins in the Underdark, through a hall of fallen giants, haunting Revenant, to a cavernous ruined throne room. At least there's some cool stuff here.
Yeah.
Come face to face with her father, the Lord below, ancient deep dragon. Ooh, so there's an adult deep dragon, and then you're going to face an ancient deep dragon. That's challenge rating 18. That's good. For challenge rating level 9. Ooh, what happens here? And her brother's there. They interrogate the party for lore and secrets. When the characters are of no more use, the dragons hurl them down into an ooze swamp. Okay, so they don't have to fight the dragons. 4 black puddings. That won't be too difficult.
No.
Only way out of the swamp is to climb a melting subterranean glacier to distant steam vent. They discover the true horror. The ice is full of aberrations, frozen in contorted mass. Will surely bring an eldritch apocalypse to Icewind Dale. 3 Greek ancients, as well as a cluster of fireball fungus. I mean, and I love the map here. This map's awesome.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, great, cool map. So you could make something out of.
There's a lot of stuff that you could work with here. This is not a bad springboard.
Yeah. Maybe there's a few more like this in there that we just got to dig more for the jewels.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a cool adventure. All right. Maybe we end on a high note there. Yes, they throw some great nods back to both Crystal Shard and Rime of the Frostmaiden. I want to go right back to running a campaign there. That's good. That's a good commentary. Anything else you want to look at, David?
I think that covers it for now.
All right. That's it for today. Running Draw Steel on the weekend. Both my D&D games this week are canceled. But back to Heroes on the Borderland next week. And finishing that up, probably.
Yeah, I'm excited for the finale.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, folks.